Well, right now there is a huge uprising about R. Kelly's alleged molestation of underage children. And I don't want to talk about the gossip. I don't want to focus on that. I've decided that I want to look at it from a different perspective than most broadcasters. Let me turn this mic down slightly. I would like to tackle it from a different perspective, but before I do that, I just need to post a note on my Facebook page to let everybody know that I'm live. Okay, I'm live on air now. Okay, so I went ahead and did that. I'm live on air now. You know what? Maybe I need to go ahead and put the link to listen at www.crescent, CRESCENT City Radio.com. Okay, crescentcityradio.com. I always misspell city. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. You're going to really enjoy this broadcast. Just bear with me one sec. There we go. Or tune in app. Okay. So now I've done that. And these ants, I tell you, people need to stop eating in the studio because it's not fair to other broadcasters. I literally was covered in ants. And it's disgusting. But anyway, let me refocus, because let me tell you, if you walk into a radio station to prepare, set up for your show, and you are covered in little black ants or little tiny red ants, yeah, it's irritating. But what I'm going to do, and this is all going to make sense to you regarding how I am going to break it down just for you this morning. Okay, I see that a fan asked me to post a link, so bear with me real quickly. Let me post one more link. We're going to address some things this morning. Okay, so now I'm done. There are different aspects that I chose to look at. First of all, can R. Kelly fans separate the person R. Kelly from his music? Can we separate the person R. Kelly from his music? And can R. Kelly's music career surviving R. Kelly a Lifetime docuseries? In fact, the third part is tonight. And one of the biggest questions that I would ask RCA Records, are you going to drop him? Or are you going to drop him? Because R. Kelly is a veteran music artist. And RCA, I believe, is owned by Sony, or they were owned by Sony. Don't correct me on that. That's a pretty big label. But before I get started, I want to talk about I Admit. I want to talk about his song, I Admit, that he released, if I'm not mistaken, it was sometime in May of 18. I'm going to play just a little bit. It's a 19-minute song talking about everything. No, I don't think so. I don't think R. Kelly talked about everything in that 19-minute song. But I do believe that R. Kelly allegedly received some advice from his attorneys that, hey, man, you need to go ahead and put a statement out there, but you don't want to admit to anything, but you want to make it appear as if you are admitting to make himself look like, he is being, accused, and he's actually innocent. Perhaps he is, I don't know. Because in a court of law, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And right now, as far as I know, no criminal charges have been filed against him. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to bore you guys with 19 minutes of I admit it, but I'm going to give you guys just a little bit, just a snippet of I admit it, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to talk about that. We're going to definitely talk about that.
I admit I done made some mistakes, and I have some imperfect ways. I admit I helped so many people, and them same damn people turn fake. I admit it was so hard to focus. I didn't go to classes. I admit that I dropped out of school. I admit that I wasn't that cool. I admit I just feel like retiring. Admit I just don't feel like trying. But all my real niggas around me keep telling me, Kels, fuck that you got.
Okay, we're going to stop right there. I admit that I just feel like retiring. I admit that I just don't feel like trying. But all my blank around me keep telling me, Kels, blank, that you got to keep climbing. Okay? That's what all his homies are telling him. You have to keep climbing. Now, the first thing that I like to do, I like to address the very first thing. You know what? Before I do that, let me get to the. I want to get to the docu-series real quickly, and I want you guys to hear something. And it's all going to make sense. And I want to pull up a little bit of the trailer, Surviving RKelly. I'm going to pull up that trailer, and I want you guys to take a listen. And then I'll come back and we'll talk about it.
I felt special. I actually thought that I was his girlfriend. I was living up there at that point. We were together all the time. I had no reason to question that we weren't. Life in the studio was kind of boring for the most part. You really couldn't have much interaction other than, I couldn't have much interaction with anyone other than Robert. At that time, I didn't know what a runner was. But later on, I realized it was just, the people that work at the studio, and they pretty much like run errands. My mom would call the studio. The runners would actually let Robert know that I had a phone call, and then he would let them know to transfer their call to me. I do know that there were times where when she would get through and she'd be upset and saying she couldn't contact me and things like that. So it very well could have been times where she was calling and they weren't allowed to put me through. One time, one of his friends came to the studio and he's speaking to everyone, and just a normal reaction, you speak back. Rob would get upset and say, you're not supposed to speak to them. You don't speak to anybody. You just look straight forward. If they speak to you, you don't say anything. Pretty early on, he kind of introduced you to everything that he was into. It was instructed to call him daddy during sex, but it went from that to pretty much all the time he'd be daddy. The first time Robert had me do sexual acts with him and another female, he actually told me it was going to be his first time and he wanted to do it with me. He would say things like, well, if you love me, you won't try to change me. If you love me, you'll accept me how I am. If you love me, you'll do these things for me. So those would be the little pep talks he would give me. Robert would film our sex acts sometimes. He would never ask me if it was okay to be filmed, but he never hit the camera or anything like that. Once we did the threesome, it became more frequent. Then he started introducing me to other young women.
Okay, so that was some information regarding surviving RKelly. And they interviewed a number of women. Some were minors back then, and then some were teenagers, above the age of 18, and they had their own account of what allegedly transpired. But I don't want to get into that. That's not my purpose this morning. My purpose is what's next. What is going to happen next? So if you're just tuning in, my question was, can you separate the art from the person? And also, can RKelly's music career surviving RKelly, a Lifetime docuseries? Can it survive? So I'd like to talk about this word. I want to talk about this word real quickly. Okay. It is spelled ALLEGATION. Allegation. A noun. It's a claim or assertion that someone has done something illegal or wrong, typically one made without proof. Okay? Allegation. A claim or assertion that someone has done something illegal or wrong, typically one made without proof. The reason why I decided to share that word and its definition is because supposedly we are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Now, I'm not advocating anything on behalf of RKelly. For anybody who may think, well, what is JuLa saying? No, she's not saying that. But in the court of law, according to the Constitution, we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but we also understand the public court of law. And this is the backlash that RKelly is facing right now. If you think Bill Cosby was bad, wait and see what happens next. So what I'd like to share with you is an article written by Jim Aswad, and he works for Variety magazine, and he's the one that first posed the question, can a recording artist essentially be fired for cause by a record label? Pretty interesting, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get into that right now. And we're about to find out in just one moment. Just one moment. Okay. And I believe, depending upon how that contract is written, the answer could be yes. A veteran music business attorney explained that over the past 25 years, RKelly has been hit with multiple accusations of sexual misconduct against young and underage women. Just want to make sure we're not having any technical difficulties here. I just kind of heard something weird happen with this microphone. So there have been multiple accusations of sexual misconduct against young and underage women for the past 25 years. Among others, these range from child pornography charges, for which he was acquitted in 2008, despite a videotape that prosecutors claim shows him urinating on and having sex with a 13-year-old girl, but Lifetime is saying 14, but this particular attorney is saying 13, to more recent allegations that he's running an abusive, quote-unquote, sex cult in which he controls every aspect of several women's lives. But assisted by a deft legal team and a popular and lucrative catalog of hits that dates back 25 years, Kelly has denied and deflected all charges. In a 2013 live Q&A with journalist Elliot Wilson, he said if he had his entire life to live over, quote, he wouldn't change a thing. He has continued to tour and record and remains on the active roster of RCA Records, although he hasn't released an album since 2016. Yet, WOC, the Women of Color branch within the Time's Up movement, recently joined the Mute RKelly online campaign and targeted him as their next subject after Bill Cosby's conviction. And there are signs that the allegations are becoming too much for many people to continue to support him. Last week, his manager, publicist, and entertainment attorney all confirmed they are no longer working with him, although he already has a new publicist and apparently new management, who's attempting to characterize the Time's Up statement as a greedy, conscious, and malicious conspiracy to demean him. John Legend, Ava DuVernay, and many other celebrities have spoken out against him. Several concerts, including one, I believe it was it was a few months ago, in his own hometown of Chicago, have canceled dates due to public outcry and petitions. And RCA label mate Jack Antonoff of Bleachers said he's asked the company many times to drop Kelly, but yet they have not. RCA is a subsidiary of Sony Music, whose roster Kelly joined when it was merged with his original label, Jive, in 2007, was singled out by the Time's Up petition along with Apple Music and Spotify for currently monetizing Kelly's music. Ticketmaster for selling tickets to Kelly's only remaining scheduled upcoming concert that he had last year in Greensboro Coliseum Complex in North Carolina. But the question is, and it still remains, can RCA simply drop him? Can they simply drop him? While the specifics of his contract are not publicly available, Variety spoke about the matter with attorney Leslie Frank, a partner of King, Holmes, Paterno, and Soriano, where she represents entertainment industry clients and has negotiated contracts and settled disputes on behalf of clients that include Metallica, whose legal team she was a member of in its 2000 lawsuit against Napster. She's represented Dr. Dre, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Skrillex, Zedd, Steve Aoki, Blink-182, and so many others. While Frank notes that she has not seen Kelly's agreement with RCA, she says it's possible that the company could be quietly allowing his contract to lapse. Quietly. Recording agreements are usually structured whereby after an album is released, the label has the option to continue the contract for another period or album. The buffet was released on RCA in December of 2015. He issued a Christmas theme outlining in 2016. But such releases are often considered differently contractually, Frank notes. She says, quote, most of the time, the label would have the option to exercise its right to another contract period. Usually, there's a number of them for well-established artists. It's going to be 2 to 4 contract periods. And usually for legacy artists, the delivery commitment is 1 album per contract period, unquote. Frank also said, quote, so assuming they are not finished exercising options and RCA has not exercised its next option, once RKelly sends them notice, reminding RCA that they have not exercised the option, they have 30 days to do so. If they don't exercise, they're out of contract. So, she says, they could be in that situation. The chances are pretty good that since his last record was so long ago, something has happened. If Kelly sent them notice, RCA could let the 30 days run out and not exercise its option and then be free from the agreement without damages. Frank confirmed that such a course would be RCA's smoothest exit from its contract with Kelly. Wow. That is, that's pretty incredible. That is pretty incredible. Now, a representative for RKelly provided the following statement from his management, quote, RKelly has enjoyed a loyal and fruitful relationship with Sony and RCA Records for 30 years, and he has the utmost respect for his music partners. They have supported his career and his creativity, and in even the most difficult times, they have avoided rushing to judgment without the facts. That faith and kindness are rare in the music business, and Mr. Kelly looks forward to continuing his relationship with Sony RCA for many years to come. Now, I have another question I want to pose to you. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, can a recording artist essentially be fired for a cause by a record label? Well, Ms. Frank states that contractually, some recording agreements say that if you are convicted of a felony or a crime of moral turpitude, generally speaking, it is the label's right to terminate the contract. But that is a modern concept, she says. If a contract is older, or maybe with a very prominent artist whom the label has no reason to believe would have any trouble of the criminal variety, then it won't necessarily have that provision. She states, quote, I can only speak to the few recording agreements I see year to year, but probably the first time I saw it was in a contract from about 3 years ago. Now, but if RKelly isn't actually convicted of anything, can they drop him if there's no such provision? Good question, huh? Well, she says it depends on what RKelly's recording agreement with RCA says. And she says, quote, I don't know what's in his agreement, but they can. Any record company or really any party to any contract can decide they no longer want to be in the contract. The question is what can happen as a result of them asserting their desire to terminate the term of the agreement, even though there's no contractual provision saying that they can do so, because he's accused of things. He's accused of RKelly, of RKelly molesting, raping women and young girls, and that RKelly could sue for damages, meaning RKelly could sue RCA Records for damages if they terminate his contract in the midst of, all these allegations without being convicted, without being convicted, or without them having any factual evidence to show immoral turpitude. Now, would RCA have to buy him out of his contract if he doesn't want to part ways? Interesting. Well, she says that she doesn't think it would be called buying out, because that has connotations that probably don't apply in this situation. But if RKelly does not want to terminate the agreement and instigates a dispute saying that it's a breach of contract by RCA, if RCA is concerned about the cost of litigation and how a court might decide, they could try to come to a settlement with RKelly. Folks, at the end of the day, this entire, I'm going to say, sordid saga all boils down to money. And we're going to talk about that at the very end. It all boils down to money. And the first question that I have in my mind is, were the parents, the minor children's parents bought off? Why, if he did do these things, why hasn't anybody testified in trial? That's my first question. Well, what defense could RCA muster if they dropped him and RKelly sued for a breach of contract? If the purpose of an agreement is frustrated, in this case, it would be the business of selling and streaming recordings by RKelly. Remember, Spotify dropped his music, Apple Music dropped his music. Okay? By the fact that RKelly has been alleged to have committed a crime. Did you guys hear the word alleged? And it's a crime that is especially a focus of current culture and especially loathsome to people. Then the label could say that the purpose of the contract has been frustrated by these allegations against RKelly, and therefore they should be excused from performing under the agreement. That would be a defense to breach of contract. RCA could say, quote unquote, we didn't breach the contract because it became impracticable. Could RCA simply allow the contract to lapse? There are a few circumstances where the contract could be terminated. The terms of recording agreements are contract periods, and the artist has to deliver a certain number of recordings. The traditional version is an album, and the record label would have some number of months to get it commercially released. If the record label doesn't release the record, the contract usually says something like the artist's remedy is to terminate the agreement, or the remedy might be that the artist requires the label to license the record to another company to release. However, if he hasn't delivered a record that he was supposed to deliver on the timeline in his current contract period, RCA would typically send him a written notice saying, you were required to deliver this record as of whatever date. You haven't done it. You have 30 days to cure. If he doesn't deliver it, that's material breach, and the label would have the right to terminate. And then there's yet another out. Let's say RKelly's last record was released and the label hasn't exercised its next option. Most of the time, the label would have the option to exercise its right to another contract period. Usually, there's a number of them. For well-established artists, it's going to be 2 to 4 contract periods. And usually for a legacy artist, the delivery commitment is 1 album per contract period. So assuming they're not finished exercising options and RCA has not exercised its next option and RKelly has not reminded them once he sends them that notice, then they have the 30 days. And if they don't exercise, they're out of contract. So actually, they could be in that situation where the label hasn't exercised its next option for another record, and we don't know whether RKelly sent them notice. The chances are pretty good that since his last record was so long ago, something has happened, but we just don't know what it is. RCA could let the 30 days run out and not exercise its option and then be free from the agreement without any damages. Now, here's a twist, and this is going to be really, really good. What happens if they're in the middle of a contract period? That is the most difficult situation where maybe, just maybe, they've started a contract period and he's still within the period that he has to deliver a record. Then what does RCA do? Well, they could still terminate and see what happens. If RKelly is owed money during that contract period, RCA could then decide to pay him or not pay him and see what happens. If there's nothing else in the agreement that would allow them to contractually terminate, RKelly could claim he's been damaged in the amount of money that they didn't pay him, or even beyond that, because they didn't release the record that they exercised the option for. It's unlikely that he would get anything beyond any advance installments for delivery, because any other damages would be speculative. What he would have earned, etc. It's possible that his recording agreement says if RCA doesn't timely release an album, he has the right to terminate, and that's his only remedy. If that's the case, then he can't sue for lost royalties on the record that wasn't released, because that's not something he negotiated for. Now, if it's a mutual parting, they could simply go their separate ways. Now, keep in mind, this is on a smaller scale, but last year, the band PWR BTTM was dropped by the indie label Polyvinyl expressly because of sexual assault allegations against a band member. Wouldn't RCA parting ways with RKelly due to allegations against him be a similar situation? Well, I can't talk about that because I don't have any knowledge of that, but there are other labels where this has happened in that situation. We don't know the background. The label may have had the contractual right to terminate for allegations of a crime, or they may have just decided to terminate and see what happens. Now, if Kelly's contract was terminated, it would not affect his back catalog with the company, right? It's not as if his catalog would be suddenly silenced. Terminating the recording agreement does not have implications for music that's already been released. Would it be possible for RKelly's lawyers to point to other artists on RCA or other labels who have been convicted of felonies and cry foul? I think most people in the music business understand that recording agreements are mostly at the discretion of the record label. Whether a label accepts a record submitted by its artist is often a matter of whether they like it or not. They don't have to put it out. That's not true of every deal, but it is true of the majority. So to me, the level of discretion that a record label has in general terms would make it questionable for RKelly to point at an artist who has a weapons or assault charge and say, look, that guy got to stay on his label. Well, he's not that guy. They have two different recording agreements and two different histories. And RCA would say, we find there to be a much more damaging allegation against you, RKelly, than there was with this weapons charge. It could be made as a business decision, although I hate to say it that way, there is a very wide variety of distinctions. Quite interesting, isn't it? Quite interesting. Now, I'd like to get back to the parents of the minor children. I like to get back to the parents of the minor children. I find it very hard to believe that the parents of the minor children would allow their minor child to be left alone with RKelly for not just hours, but for days at a time. For days at a time. I do believe that the minor child is not at fault because when you are a child, you think as a child. When you are an adult, you're supposed to think as an adult. And it was the minor children's parents' obligation as parents to protect them at all costs. Money should never be the deciding factor. And that's all I'm going to say on that. That's just my personal opinion. If anybody wants to call in right now, I'm going to open the phone line 504-865-3635. 504-865-3635. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to find out what are your thoughts. Okay, so can you separate the art from the person? Can you? That is the question that I'm posing. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and pose this question to my friends on Facebook. And I want to see what some of them think. I'm going to paste it right now. I'm going to paste that question right now. Call in now. Okay, 504-865-3635. And I'm going to question. And it's going to be interesting if somebody should call in. It's going to be very interesting. So I went ahead and posted that on DuCre's Facebook page. Can you separate the art from the person? That is the question. Call in. I love to hear from you guys. I love to hear your thoughts. Can you separate the art from the person? And I'm also going to share that on my in the official radio broadcasters group on Facebook. Can you separate the art from the person? I think that's like a twofold type of thing. In my personal opinion, I think it's a yes, and then at the same time, it is a no. Can you separate the art from the person? A part of it is yes, and then a part of it is no. The reason why is because we are human beings, and as a human being, we are accountable for our own actions. Although we may be creative artists, we are still responsible for our own actions. And, you know, I've often been told that as a singer, you have to be able to tell a story. You have to be able to tell the story. You do not have to be the original songwriter. You do not have to have written those lyrics, but you have to be able to tell that story where that story can touch other people, because it has to be believable, right? So all of these allegations that have come forward, all the allegations the past 25 years, the fact of the matter is that RKelly has not been convicted of anything. But I will tell you this. The likelihood, in my opinion, of RKelly going down for this is far greater than not. I just don't see people letting this go. And I think unless they have concrete proof, you know, I'm sure there are tons of videotape floating out there. All they need is somebody to come forward with a videotape of him having sexual intercourse with a minor girl. That's it. His life is finished. His life is over. Now, that's my professional opinion. Now, a defense attorney listened to RKelly's 19-minute song titled I Admit. And let me tell you what this defense attorney thinks about that. It's always good to get a different perspective, right? RKelly's 19-minute song titled I Admit, which addresses many of the sexual abuse claims made against the R&B singer over the last several years, could possibly be used against him in a court of law. A criminal defense attorney who listened to that 19-minute track said, she said, while Kelly's lyrics as a whole do not point to any criminal wrongdoing, her name is, she's a criminal defense attorney. Her name is Julie Rendelman. She told Time magazine that, in her opinion, the song itself could be used to cross-examine the singer if he were ever put on trial. He doesn't make any real admissions. He may be dumb, but he's not really that dumb, right? He doesn't make any real admissions, but he certainly doesn't help his case, she said. She said, quote, I don't think anything good comes out of this other than him hoping he can make some money, because there is not a specific criminal case against Kelly currently pending. Rendelman says it is tough to tell whether a judge would find the lyrics relevant. Now, I'm going to do another thing that I love to do. I'm going to type in this word and I'm going to go ahead and define it. The next word is called relevant. RELEVANT. Closely connected or appropriate to what is being done or considered is an adjective. Now, getting back to criminal defense attorney Rendelman's statement, she says, it is tough to tell whether a judge would find the lyrics relevant, but she says the lyrics could be used in court in a future case. depending on the subject matter and accusations. Depending on the subject matter and accusations. Lifetime. Surviving R. Kelly. For example, Kelly says in the song, I Admit, that he, quote, done blanked with a couple of fans. And that blank, the first letter begins with an F. That he done effed with a couple of fans. If a fan were to later accuse Kelly of sexual misconduct, he has already admitted to having sexual contact with her, Rendleman says. A representative for Kelly did not immediately return Time's request for a comment, but eventually they got one. Now, if an individual makes a claim that he raped them and they were a fan of his, he admits in his lyrics that he had sex with his fans, Rendleman says, then there's an argument to be made that those lyrics are admissible. Kelly has faced numerous allegations from women over the years. In a May lawsuit of 2018, a woman accused Kelly of sexual battery, infecting her with herpes, and locking her in rooms as punishment. Her allegations are also the subject of a Dallas police investigation, and Kelly has not yet commented publicly on them. A representative for R. Kelly told the Washington Post he, quote, categorically denies all claims and allegations, unquote. A BuzzFeed report published last year said the singer was holding multiple women captive. Kelly denied the allegations. Kelly's lengthy song addresses his denial of the allegations that he held women captive in what some called, quote, a sex cult. His attraction to younger women, being sexually abused as a child, allegedly from the age of, I believe, 9 years old or 14 years old. His relationship with the late singer Aaliyah. He married Aaliyah at the age when she was 15 years old. I don't have to say allegedly because I have seen the marriage certificate, and her parents had it annulled. It has been alleged that there was an alleged agreement between Aaliyah's parents, the Haltons, to keep him out of jail if he signed over all of his publishing rights to the brother of the Halton, whose record label that Aaliyah was signed to, and her parents. And if you've noticed, R. Kelly claimed that he signed over his publishing rights because he couldn't read, that had he been able to read and understand what he was signing, he never would have signed it. So it's been alleged that the people who own all of R. Kelly's publishing are the late Aaliyah's parents and her uncle, who was his former manager. Excuse me. So, getting back to what I was saying, his relationship with the late singer Aaliyah, may she rest in peace. She died in a horrific plane crash. Aaliyah and Spotify decided and announced, I believe in June of last year, that they were going to remove his music from their playlist. Among many other things, he also mentions reporting by Jim DeRogatis, who has followed accusations of sexual misconduct against RKelly for more than 2 decades. Kelly says he's been, quote unquote, falsely accused by DeRogatis in I Admit. And one verse of the long song, Kelly sings, quote, I admit I effed with all the ladies, not some, not a few, but all the ladies. That's both older and young ladies. But tell me how they call it pedophile, because that shit is crazy, unquote. In another, he appears to address the parents of Jocelyn Savage. Jocelyn Savage is the young lady, and I think she's right now is 21 or 22. And I think at the age of 19 or something, allegedly her dad brought her to an RKelly concert. And I think he had like backstage passes, whatever, introduced her to RKelly and asked RKelly to work with his daughter and begged RKelly to give her a chance to perform on stage. And since that time, Jocelyn Savage has been living with RKelly and a number of other young women in Chicago, allegedly. They have, the parents of Jocelyn Savage have claimed that he kidnapped their daughter and he's holding her against her will. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've seen Jocelyn, recent interview with TMZ. She was vacationing in Los Angeles, and she said none of those accusations were true, and that she loved RKelly, and that she was free to go and do whatever she wanted to do, and that her parents were just angry and they were making those stories up. I have seen interviews on I think it was it Channel 4? No, it was on the Today. It could have been the Today show, where Jocelyn Savage's parents were doing like a press junket. That's where you go around and you're promoting certain things, and they were going to various radio stations and going on talk shows and making these allegations against RKelly, that he was holding not only their daughter but other young women against their will in a sex cult. Okay. But RKelly also states in I Admit, if you really, now this is a quote, if you really, really want to know, her father dropped her off at my show and told this boy to put her on stage. Later adding, quote, don't push your daughter in my face and tell me that it's okay, because your agenda is to get paid and get mad when it don't go your way. Now, let me speak on this for a quick moment. First and foremost, I fault any parent that would allow their minor child to spend time alone with any man above the legal age of majority, especially a 13-year-old. That is shameful. And every single parent that did this and are now crying foul, they should be held accountable as well, in my opinion. If you disagree, my call-in line is open. That number is 504-865-3635. According to criminal defense attorney Rendleman, none of those lyrics point to an actual crime, but with one lawsuit already pending against Kelly, she says the lyrics could help prosecutors in the future. Now, how dumb was that? If he did it, O.J. Simpson, if I did it, well, O.J. Simpson was even dumber than dumber. If I did it, here's how I would do it. If I did it, here's how I would do it. Like, who's going to believe you? Seriously, if I did it. Rendleman says, anything at all you say when you're in the midst of a criminal investigation can be interpreted in many different ways. She says, quote, we always tell our clients, you may think that by saying, I didn't do it, that helps, but there's always a chance for a prosecutor to find something in what you said that does not support your position. So, criminal defense attorney Rendleman's advice to RKelly is to stay quiet. It's crazy. This is so crazy. So, my question is, can you separate the art from the person? My call in line is still open, 504-865-3635. 504-865. I know that I have listeners who are tuned in from all parts around the world. I want to give some shout outs to Gracielle Huakey in Suriname. I love you, Gracielle. Thank you all for listening. I need somebody to call in right now. Who is brave enough to call in? You do not have to give me your name, but I do ask you to tell me what part of the world are you calling from. The question that I have posed is, can you separate the art from the person? I say yes and no. What do you say? And my next question is, have you watched parts 1 and 2 of Surviving RKelly? If so, what did you think of it? Do you believe the accusers? Do you believe singer Sparkle, who was with RKelly from like the beginning? And that is her niece, that 14-year-old girl, allegedly in that sex tape video where he's urinating all over that young girl. But she remained. There were so many people who are now coming out that allegedly either managed him, they were personal assistants, they were choreographers, backup dancers, backup singers, they were solo artists. And everybody, if this happened, how could everybody have turned a blind eye for 25 years? I just want to know. What do you think? What are your thoughts? My phone line is open. 504-865-3635. 504-865-3635. Let me check the time. It is now 11 minutes after 10. And I'm going to be back next Saturday, guys. I'm working on some fabulous shows, getting you some more live interviews with major artists. Now, before we do that, I'm done with RKelly. We've talked about recording contracts. Okay? First thing I want to say to all of you up-and-coming artists, you have to be extremely careful what you say and what you do. Because although you are a creator, you are an quote-unquote artist, you still are human beings, okay? And if you break the law, and if you are accused of breaking the law, let's just say you broke the law and you were lucky enough to not be convicted or to be charged. There's also the court of public opinion. The court of public opinion is so strong. Now I'm gonna type something real quickly. The court of public opinion can destroy your life as you once knew it. The court of public opinion tries you before you're even charged, before there's even a grand jury, before the voir dire, the jury selection process has begun. They've already sentenced you to death or life in prison. So the court of public opinion is not to be played with. You have to be careful of everything that you say and everything that you do, because in today's society, social media can either make you and or break you. The influence of social media is strong. It is so strong. And the influence, public support for one-sidedness, even if somebody is innocent, let's just say, I don't know, hypothetically speaking, RKelly did not engage in sexual intercourse with anybody below the age of 18. And I'm just going to say my opinion. I'm sure that he did. I will publicly say I believe that RKelly most probably had sexual intercourse with young girls below the age of 18 years old. I really think he did. But can we prove it? That is the question. Can it be proven in a court of law by a jury of his peers? So the court of public opinion can convict you. There's a certain, just like athletes say all the time, oh, you know, we should not be held as role models and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, if you're making millions of dollars, you should be accountable. We're all accountable. I'm accountable right now. I'm accountable for everything that proceeds out of my mouth, because I am a radio broadcaster. I am an executive producer. I am speaking to people from around the world. Okay? So yes, I am accountable for everything that I say as well. I'm not going to judge anybody and say, oh, only you guys are accountable, but I'm not accountable because I'm in radio broad. Baloney. I am just as accountable as you are. Now, I'm going to open my call-in line because I see that we have a lot of people who are tuned in right now. The call-in line is 504-865-3635. 504-865-3635. I bet if I were to give away $100 right now to the first caller, I bet my phone line would be blowing up right now. I bet if I were to announce that I would give the first caller to call in right now $100, I bet my phone line would be lit. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Do you guys think that I, out of the goodness of my heart, should give the first caller $100 and say Happy New Year just for calling in? Going once? Going twice? Gone. And so I guess nobody needs $100, right? Okay, well, I see. I'm going to go ahead and listen. I'm going to go ahead and put that $100 bill back in my pocket. I don't mind listeners, but I love callers. And we're going to do more of that this year. Now, I want to talk to you guys about what's going to be happening next on the JuLa DuCre show. I am lining up more interviews with legendary artists. Some are singers, songwriters. Some are producers. There is a major music executive of one of the biggest, I'm going to say African American record labels there ever was. And they're still in existence. So I have been working on getting that interview. I just have to follow up because I've been gone for a few months and I had to put things on hold. But now I'm back. I'm ready to go ahead and kick off 2019 with a bang, guys. It's getting hot in here. But actually, it's kind of cold right now. Too cold for me to take off my clothes. I am just sorry. So what I want to do right now, I want to go ahead and share. No, I'm not going to play RKelly right now because I'm afraid that you guys might throw some rotten eggs at me when I walk outside. Ooh, Lord, these ants. I told you guys about the ants. When I walked into the studio this morning, I don't know what happened during the Christmas holiday. I don't know if somebody was eating in here, if they left some crumbs, some food, whatever. The entire desk was covered with these little ants, and I still see them crawling. I was able to kill a whole bunch of those ants, those little critters, with a napkin, but they're like everywhere. I'm literally sitting so far back from the desk, I'm afraid to even touch the mouse. Okay, so oh, is that the phone line? Oh, I thought I heard somebody call. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and play a song, and this one is definitely for you, my loyal listeners and supporters. I have been here at Crescent City Radio for 10 years, guys. And the only reason why I do it is because of you, my love for you. And I thank you. I ask you guys to share my broadcast, spread the word, and I promise you, I will be on time next week and from here on out. I was late this morning because I wanted to make sure that I was going to feed you guys this morning. I didn't want to talk about the same old innuendos and hearsays and accusations and allegations that I don't have any solid proof, right? I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give you guys some information as a musician myself. The first question I want to know, if I were signed with a major record label, was how is this going to affect how are these allegations going to affect my relationship with my record company, with my label? How is my brand going to be affected? Now, I want to tell you guys something. Right now, and I'm going to RKelly's Instagram page, okay? There are people, it's like they're divided. There are always going to be people who believe that RKelly is being railroaded, that the young girls and their families were in it for the money. You know, you're always going to have people who say that. Then you're going to have others who say it doesn't really matter. It's all about the music. Doesn't really matter. It's all about the music. So you're going to hear both sides, right? I'm going to share something that I read early this morning because I needed to go. I was looking to see if he was going to respond, right? RKelly has 1.1 million followers just on Instagram. 1.1 million followers. Now, he has not released an album since December of 2016, okay? But yet, he still has 1.1 million followers. The other thing is, given that Spotify and Apple Music have stopped streaming his music catalog, he still has 1.1 million followers on Instagram. And what this equates to is whether or not he will have the capability of selling out shows, even in small venues. Now, some of you might say his career is ruined. I'm going to say maybe not so, because if the prosecutors cannot come up with enough evidence that can stick and hold the charge to have a conviction, then RKelly will remain free. Okay. Now, RKelly might make more money if he were to move overseas and tour in Europe, or maybe move to Africa and tour. But please leave these little girls alone up there, RKelly. Gosh, you're 51, man. You're almost 52. Leave the children alone. But I believe that RKelly, if he's not convicted, it's going to make a hell of a lot of money somewhere. Because you know why? Because people are what? Followers. Curiosity Kills the Cat, and they will pay $150 or more to go to an R. Kelly concert in Europe. They will pay. And another thing, I looked at a post of his. He posted it 4 days ago. Mind you, R. Kelly did not post this because R. Kelly is dyslexic and he barely can read. Okay, so I'm sure his management or publicist posted this information on his Instagram account. However, it says, R. Kelly dropped a new hit late last night. That was 4 days ago. Bring to my music. It's called Born to My Music. And they're saying, check out the link in my bio. Give you a taste of what the new album bringing. Okay. So he went ahead. Oh my God, guys. Oh my God. I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to go get it. Woo, woo, woo. I found it. Since, oh my God. Oh my God. You guys are not going to believe this. R. Kelly has found a way to stream his music. He's found a way. And that way, let me get there. I don't want to tell you guys until I'm on the page, okay? Let's see. Ooh, let's see if I can find this. Guys, just hang in there. Bear with me. Please bear with me. I promise you it's going to be worthwhile. Let me find the link to the website. Let's see what he's got there. Whoa. Wait until you guys hear this. Let me finish typing in the rest of the IUS Darrington R. Kelly. Let's see if that works. Okay, let's try it again then. Let's try it again. Found it. R. Kelly is streaming music on SoundCloud. He's streaming music on SoundCloud. And it looks like the last time he uploaded something there was a few years ago. But if Spotify doesn't want to stream it, Apple is no longer streaming it, then somebody has to stream it, right? And he's got 4.53 million followers on SoundCloud. Now, I'm going to go ahead and type in this song before I go. I have like 4 minutes before I have to get off air. But the name of the song is called Born to My Music. Let's see if I can find that real quickly. R. Kelly. Born to My Music. Now, remember I just mentioned Curiosity Kills the Cat? Do y'all remember me saying Curiosity Kills the Cat? Well, I found R. Kelly's new song, Born to My Music. This is it right here on SoundCloud. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to be back in a moment because I want to take a listen. I want to hear what this brother is talking about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I hear them tell me that they love the music. And even how some of the songs has gotten them through. And through the years I've heard nothing but keep doing it. They even say to me I got kids 'cause of you. Well, here's to all the 90s babies, single mothers or daddies maybes, whether rich or whether poor. This is who this song is for. 'Cause I know that you are born to my music. Oh, whoever you are, you are born to my.
Okay, I've heard enough of that. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like it. And I can hear, as a singer myself, I can hear that R. Kelly's world has shifted. You can hear it in his voice. He's scared, guys. He is scared. I can hear that in his voice. RKelly is scared. Y'all heard me. RKelly is scared. Not scared. RKelly is scared. And he should be if these allegations are true. Now, I was reading also some comments by some of his fans on his Instagram page. And one of his fans wrote, first off, oh my, they said the same thing that I said, not in its entirety. But the fan said, first off, where were the parents of these alleged 12 to 15-year-old girls? Secondly, some of these young girls threw themselves at him cause of his fame. They had choices. They chose to sleep with him over and over again. Now, I disagree with the thing about they had choices, because when you are a child, you are going to think like a child. You're going to behave like a child. And when you are 12 to 15 years old, you can easily be manipulated by a grown ass man. Now, I'm going to continue on. This is what the fan says now. It wasn't like he was holding a gun to their head. They could have left and went to the police anytime. We don't know if he held a gun to their head. We don't know that. So for anybody to assume that it wasn't like he was holding a gun to their head, you don't know. We do not know. We don't know if he held a gun to their head and whether or not they could have, left and gone to the police at any time. We don't know those things. Now, this fan also says if they turn down after 15-year-old boys, if they turn down other 15-year-old boys, they could have said no to RKelly. Let's see if Lifetime makes a surviving Harvey Weinstein, Elvis Presley, Hugh Hefner, Donald Trump, Charlie Sheen, etc. Fan says, I will wait. Let's not forget these men had intercourse with young girls. That's what one of RKelly's die-hard fans said. Now I'm curious. Now they've kind of like sparked a curiosity. How old was Priscilla Presley? I'm just Presley when she dated Elvis Presley. Let's see if I can find that. I'm kind of curious because it is my understanding that Elvis Presley met her when she was 13. Okay. So apparently Priscilla Bulow Presley was just 14 years old. And Elvis was 10 years older and was already a rock and roll superstar. So I say this to say that the music industry is a very dirty and corrupt industry. And if you have children, protect your children. Protect your children. Don't let your children just go off with anybody. I don't care how much fame and fortune a person has. Don't let your children go off with anybody. Well, my time is up, guys. Thank you. I'm going to be back next Saturday. Same place, same time, 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time on the DuCre Show, making radio cool again. Have a beautiful and blessed weekend. This is my single, One in a Million You. That's what you are to me. Have a great weekend.
turn.